Hello and welcome back to Boxing Social in association with Betfred. My name is Ayman Khan. I'm here in Birmingham at the Millennium Point Auditorium. We've just seen the conclusion of the Zach Parker, Parker-Morrison press conference, and I'm here with one and only Francis Warren. Francis, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad at all. Always great to see cards in Birmingham. I know that Queensberry Promotions have been looking to invest in Birmingham, put more cards on there. This is the third card, I believe it is.
Third since the end of August, yeah. And also at Telford as well at the end of before the summer. So yeah, I might have to start buying some flats up here.
Eventually. So yeah, let's start by talking through the card. Obviously, that's headlined by Zach Parker and Marcus-Morrison, but you've also got the likes of Nathan Heaney and Denzel Bentley on the card too.
Yeah, listen, it's a strong undercard. Ryan Garner's coming up from Southampton. He's fighting in an 8-rounder. I think it will be his last one before we try and push him on for some sort of title. Obviously he's had a bit of a slight stop-start career, Ryan, but he's firmly on the straight and narrow and firmly in the gym as full-time pro. And Wayne Batten's done a terrific job with him, and Frank Hopkins have. Looking forward to seeing Ryan on Saturday. Obviously Denzel's back in the swing of things. Obviously hugely disappointing night for him against Felix Cash, following two great nights for him against against Mark Heffron. He was hugely disappointed, but just got on with it, and that's what these guys do. And as I've just said in the press conference, there's no shame in losing a 50-50 fight. Felix Cash was better on the night, and that's it. There's nothing more, no more in-depth analysis to do about that fight. Felix Cash was better on the night, and I'm sure that's an itch that Denzel wants to scratch at some point in his career. But first of all, he's got to win Saturday. Before getting back into sort of title contention in the early sort of February March 2022. Nathan Heaney, a man from Stoke, he's just an absolute dream to work with. Nathan, he's such a lovely guy until he gets in the ring, and then he sort of transforms into this bit of an animal who's just getting better and better. And I keep saying he's not just a ticket seller. It's not just about his popularity. He's a fighter, and he's out there to let everyone know that every time he fights. But fortunately for him, fortunately for us, and fortunately for the people of Stoke, they all know about him, and they turn up in their thousands. And I think that support is something that at the moment is very much focused on Stoke. But I think that we could have another sort of Ricky Hatton situation on our hands here, where if it catches fire and we get the right fights from him at the right time. We could have something really special on our hands, and first stop is Saturday night against Jan Janin, who can really punch. I think he's had 30 fights. I think he's knocked 23 out. 30 wins and knocked 23 out. So Nathan will have to be on his toes on Saturday to make sure that the train isn't derailed, and he's fully focused. And there's a big dream of fighting at the Bet365 next summer. So hopefully that journey continues to next stop Stoke City Football Ground.
Going to the main event, Marcus-Morrison is the opponent. Marcus alluded to getting the phone call and being picked as the opponent there. Why Marcus, and who was in the mix for the opponent for Zach Parker?
There was a lot of phone calls made to a lot of guys in the top 15 of not just the WBO but a lot of the ranking bodies. And truth be told, no one fancied it. Going to Marcus, who is a natural middleweight, but he's a big guy at super middleweight as well, and he's had notice, so it's not like he's making the weight up at 2 weeks' notice. This has been a fight that's been, done and dusted for a while. So the reason why Marcus has got the shot is because he accepted the fight. He's stepped up to the plate. He's shown a set on him, and he thinks he can do a job. So that's why he's got the fight. And he wasn't the first choice, but he's certainly the most impressive in terms of taking the fight. And as he's just said in there, Joe's just said in there, he's got serious punch power that has to be respected. He's 16 stoppages and 24 wins, and Zach will have to be on his toes because he's got huge. He's got so much to lose. Huge ambitions for next year, and it's not. Obviously, it's not. He's got to come through Marcus before even. But it must be difficult not to be thinking about. What happens after this fight. But he knows he's got a job to do. He's a consummate professional, and I'm sure he'll do it on Saturday.
With Zach, obviously looking to guide him towards that mandatory title shot. But do you expect that mandatory to be called next? Is that the path for Zach?
You'd hope so. I think the WBO are pushing for their shot to be called next. So but listen, nothing's settled. Both guys have got a fight, coincidentally on the same night. So I think there's more discussions for next week. Excuse me. Once the dust has settled after, hopefully both guys win. And listen, Caleb Plant's no idiot either. Let's not, disregarding him. He's a world champion in his own right, and he's got a lot to say about this. So there's 4 moving parts here, and it's not until 6 a.m. on Sunday morning we'll all know where we are.
Just moving onto a couple of other things. The fight has been brokered between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. Francis, I watched an interview with Frank. Was it you or George who closed the deal on it? Could you remind me, George? Were you part of getting the deal over the line, though?
No, George did that one. George done that deal. It's a great deal for Tommy, and it gives him a great opportunity to enhance his popularity here and obviously in the States as well. Jake Paul's a bit of a phenomenon on what he's done, and Tommy is very much a part of that.
The reason I asked is because there's obviously that interesting bit of information about the clause in the contract. I was just wondering if you knew how far they actually pushed that clause for Tommy's name change to be put in there if he lost the fight.
If you get hold of George, you can ask him.
I will do, no problem. It's interesting that fight is because Tommy Fury, there's a lot on the line there because he's the first quote-unquote boxer that Jake Paul's fighting. So if he comes out on the losing end, potentially that's a lot of credibility loss if he does come through on the losing end of that fight.
Yeah, we're not even thinking about him losing. It's not in his DNA to be thinking that way, and it's certainly not. It's not part of ours. So it's something that he's got to go and do the business, and I'm sure he will.
Are BT Sport planning for that fight to be pay-per-view?
You wait and see.
No worries. Someone we're waiting to see to be in the corner is Tyson Fury. That's going to be a real crucial part of the game in terms of Tyson Fury's experience, bringing it to his obviously family member there in the corner on that night. Absolutely.
It's something in the DNA of the Fury family, and who better to have in your corner than world heavyweight champion. So and not just world heavyweight champion, but just an inspiration all round. So if there are any deep waters that Jake Paul somehow manages to drag Tommy into, which I don't think there is, but then he's got to remember what his brother did, and he's got to remember how good he is, Tommy, and what he's capable of doing, and just have a quick glance over to the corner. I'm sure it'll give him inspiration and the drive as well in the gym. There won't be any days off, minutes off, seconds off. I think it's going to be a full on training camp, very very focused on making sure that there's no slip ups.
Speaking of Tyson, looks like the path is for him the potential mandatory shot against Dillian. But Bob Arum has recently said that Joe Joyce could be called for that fight next, the WBO mandatory there. What do you expect to happen? Do you expect Joe to go in first as the mandatory being called there?
I think Tyson will do what pleases, what suits Tyson, and Tyson being in the position he's in, he's got all the options in the world. So conversations will be had, and people will know when decisions have been made.
Do you expect that fight to likely go to purse bids?
Like I just said to you, Tyson's in a very very good position to be able to let. I can't see Tyson being dictated to very much, to be honest. So, we'll see what happens.
Just sticking on Fury versus White potentially, how do you see that fight going?
Fury against White, if it happens. Yeah. I think Tyson does a real job. I think there's no one that I don't think that gets very close to Tyson Fury. I think he's far and above better than the majority of the heavyweights on the planet.
Francis, I wanted to talk to you about as well. We've seen recently some cross-promotional fights between Queensbury and Matchroom specifically, which fans have really appreciated. For example, Ritson versus Pont, someone you know very well, and then Cheeseman versus Williamson. What's the likelihood of us getting to see more of those fights, and one especially that you brokered there? How likely are we going to see a few more fights down the line, which fans really enjoyed?
Listen, it's about what's good for the fighters and what's good for the fans. So we're quite happy to do a deal with any promotional company if it suits our fighters, and it's a good deal for our guys. Of course, you've got they've got some good fighters, Matchroom, but so have other promotional companies. So if what's good for our fighters comes first, and if that happens to be against a fight from another promotional company, then we'll make use best endeavours to get it done.
As you mentioned, Zach Parker is going to have his eyes. If he comes through the fight with Marcus-Morrison, which isn't a given, he'll have his eyes on Canelo versus Plant. How do you expect that fight to go?
What, Zach or Canelo?
Canelo.
Canelo, listen, you can't not favour Canelo. Yeah, you can't not favour him. And I know Caleb Plant's a tough guy. You can't disregard him, but I'd actually go for sort of rounds 9 to 12 stoppage for Canelo.
Finally, Francis, for everyone watching this interview, why should everyone tune in on Saturday night to watch the Sports Card?
Because you've got some great fights on. You've got the number one, WBO super middleweight in the world against a very, very tough Marcus-Morrison. I think it could be a bit of a ding dong for it while it lasts. But if you want to watch the guy who probably will be in a position to be challenging the winner of Plant Canelo, then you've got Chin on Saturday, and don't miss the Stoke fans, because they are something to behold, and they'll be cheering on their favourite Nathan Heaney. So tune in and you're going to see something great.